What is up, guys? For Real Bass Feeders bringing another review video to you guys. In this video, we're going to be reviewing the Lews Mach Crush. I've had this rod reel combo for about a year and a half now. I've gotten a lot of time on the water. We're going to talk about the good, we're going to talk about the bad, we're going to talk about the ugly. There's a lot of stuff to talk about this reel. There's a lot of hype around this reel. A lot of people have this reel, and you know, there's just a lot to talk about. But with that being said, let's get straight into the video. Okay, what is up, guys? Let's get straight into the video. We're first going to talk about the rod, then we're going to talk about the reel. So the rod, real quick, this is a 7-foot medium heavy fast. It's got the wind grips that everybody loves. I really like the wind grips. I have no complaints about them. They do get dirty pretty easily, but you can clean them up pretty easily with something like Mr. Clean's Magic Eraser. Now the rod itself, it's a pretty decent rod. It's not super expensive. Like, I think it goes for like 70 bucks. It's I-Mate Carbon, that's what they call their blank for this thing. But it is not a 7-foot medium heavy fast. It's more of a 7-foot medium heavy moderate or moderate fast. It's not a super fast taper, it's a slower taper. But that being said, it's probably not the best for Texas rigs or jigs. I really like it for chatterbaits. I think this is really a perfect chatterbait rod, or even just something for like treble hook baits. So when I didn't really have a dedicated crankbait rod, a lot of times I would use this thing for crankbaits, liplesses, square bills, all stuff like that. So the rod itself, 7-foot medium heavy moderate fast, something like that, great for chatterbaits and crankbaits. Now let's get right into the reel. Okay, what is up, guys? Let's get right into the review about the reel. We just talked about the rod, and so let's get right into the reel. So the reel itself, the braking's pretty good. You have this latch here, and it takes off the side plate. Inside here, you have 4 centrifugal brakes. So in order to turn them on, you pull them out, and in order to turn them off, you push them into here. You'll feel it click and click out. I usually keep 2 on, 2 off. That's how most people do it. And additionally, you have 5 magnets in here, which are controlled by this magnetic braking system. If I can get this thing back on, it locks, and you just twist this thing between here and here, and when you're twisting it to max, it brings the magnets closer, and so you get more braking on the spool. The spool itself is a great size. You're not really going to have any trouble running out of spool space with this. Even with 65-pound braid, it's hard to completely spool this thing. I'd say it's like probably like 100 size spool. It's narrow, but it's very deep. The spool is narrow, but it's deep. So there's that. The spool tension knob is clicky, which I really like. And then the drag, you got plenty of drag on this thing. I think you have something like 20 pounds of drag. Correct me if I'm wrong. But the drag starts clicky as well. You know, that's great. If I flip this thing over real quick so you guys can get the other side of this reel. You've got the wind grips on the handle knobs, and just an aluminum handle with a graphite body. It does scratch a little bit, but like, it's not really noticeable. Yeah, you've got I think you got 10 bearings in this thing. So there's that. There we go. Yep, it's a 10 bearing system. If you guys can see that right there, 10 bearings. It says it right there. Right, this one is I believe 7:5-to-1 gear ratio reel. And something that I really like about Lews reels is that in order to kind of oil them up, they have this latch here, and basically what you do is you unscrew this little screw. This latch comes off, and you can just oil everything up, oil all the gearing up, and then just rescrew it in, and the latch just goes on perfectly. And so casting wise, this reel's a pretty good caster. It skips pretty decently. It has plenty of braking, so you're not really gonna have any trouble. You have plenty of braking. You have those 4 centrifugal brakes and all that magnetic braking. There's no lack of braking whatsoever. You can bomb cast with some crankbaits and chatterbaits, so that's not really a complaint of mine. The casting is pretty good. Nothing like blown out of the water. You know, this reel does go for, I think, $140 or $160, which is extremely overpriced in my opinion. It's probably the castability wise, probably the same, if not worse, than like an SLX, just a regular Shimano SLX, which goes for like $100. If I were to reprice this reel and give it, you know, a price tag, I'd probably put it at maybe $100 or $110, because you do have those wind grips, which a lot of people like. But this thing is super overpriced in my opinion. It does have pretty good casting, not casting that you would expect out of a $140, $160 reel. You're better off finding something better at that price point, or bumping up to say like a Corrado K at, I believe, like $180. You're going to get a lot more worth out of that Corrado K. One advantage that you do have is the drag is very strong. You can get a ton of drag out of this thing, so it's great for frogging compared to some Shimano reels, which don't have as much drag. This thing probably has twice as much drag as a Corrado K. So a lot of people like that about the Lews's, which their drag systems are a lot heavier. You can get a lot more power for winching, pitching, stuff like that. Okay, so you have pretty good casting, it's overpriced, and you have a good drag system. Now, my problem with this reel, a huge problem I have with this reel, is the thumb bar. Now, if I take this off the reel, if I go get my other Lews Mach Crush, we'll be able to kind of get into the details of that. Give me 1 second, we'll be right back. Okay guys, here we've got another one of my Lews Mach Crushes. This one has 65-pound braid on it. I use it for frogging, stuff like that. But my problem comes is with the thumb bar. As you can see, I'm not really pressing down on it too hard, and you get a lot of mush in that thumb bar. And so that's one complaint I have. As you can see, this right side's fine, but that left side tends to push down a little bit. And where the problem comes is a lot of times you'll be casting, right? And you'll push down the thumb bar, and normally you have a clean, you know, push, close like that. But sometimes what'll happen is it'll get locked up like in between, like you won't push it all the way down, and it'll kind of just get, well, you push it all the way down, and then you'll go to turn the reel handle, but the thumb bar will get kind of like stuck in the middle, like that. So right here, it's not at the bottom, and it's also not locked up to the top. And so what'll happen is you'll kind of get a free spool. The spool won't be locked, but you'll engage this reel handle right here, and the thumb bar will stay down and it won't lock. And so basically you get a free spool, and you go to reel your lure, and because it's not locked in, you get a giant bird's nest, like a giant bird's nest. And so especially with something like flipping and pitching, where you're going to be pressing that thumb bar a lot, and, you know, going to free spool and then having to lock it up real soon, and just doing this repeatedly, this action just over and over and over again, that becomes a huge problem, because this doesn't just happen on occasion. Like, it happens pretty often where the spool will just kind of just go out of control. This thumb bar will just go out of control, and what'll happen is this will get stuck here, and you'll be able to turn the reel handle, but it won't be engaging the gears at all. And so you just get a ton of bird's nests. This happened to me a ton of times, and so that's my biggest complaint about the Lews Mach Crush, is that thumb bar has a lot of problems. Even when it was brand new, I noticed that. I was like, oh, that's probably just some little thing. I don't think it's going to be that big of a deal. But as I kept on using them and got really more time on the water with them, I've probably been using these for about 1.5 years, if not more. That became a huge problem. That just this thumb bar, it just malfunctioned. It's hard to get it to malfunction when it's just like this, because there's no weight on the line, there's no lure at the end of the rod. But just know that there is a pretty big problem with the thumb bar right here, where it won't lock back into place, and the spool will just go free spool. You'll think that you have your lure engaged, and you go pick up the line, and it just goes, and because it's free spooling, if I just demonstrate here, you'll just get a massive bird's nest that's 10 times worse than what I just did, because I had my finger on the spool because I didn't want it to be too bad. But yeah, I mean, getting bird's nest with this thing when you're pitching and flipping and just randomly, just at random times, you press it down, you cast out, and you engage, and it just doesn't engage, and you'll just get a massive bird's nest. Even when you're normally casting, sometimes you'll just get a massive bird's nest. I'm not sure what it is, but I mean, this reel overall, I think it's super overpriced. I don't think it's really worth it. I'm trying to sell mine. But yeah, I mean, you're better off spending your money on something like a Shimano SLX or even like a Daiwa reel. I really like Daiwa reels. But yeah, I don't really, it casts great, but I have a huge problem with the thumb bar. I've had it with almost all of my, the Mach series. It's really with all the Mach series. I've talked to some people who have owned some higher end Lews reels, like say the Hypermag or the Pro TI. There's no problem there, but I think some of the other higher tier Lews reels, like the Tournament SLP or the other ones like that, they also seem to have that thumb bar problem. I talked to some guys who own other Lews reels, and they all seem to have the same exact problem with that thumb bar. And I can't emphasize more just how problematic this thumb bar has become. I know I've been rambling on about it a lot, but like I've had so many just terrible bird's nests that have just ruined my day of fishing because it just malfunctions and you just get a crazy bad bird's nest that you literally can't get out, and you end up having to cut the line. You waste a ton of line, and you know, it just becomes a huge problem. Also, because of the gearing, it's not the best gearing. It's not great gearing, but after a little bit of time, it gets very geary. Like you can hear that. You can hear all the gears just chewing away on the inside of that. So there's that. So yeah, I mean, it's a pretty decent caster, overpriced in my opinion. The thumb bar is pretty bad. Drag is okay, and then the gearing is also okay. Okay guys, so as a final overview, the rod, pretty good. Great sensitivity for the price. It's like 75 bucks. You get some pretty good sensitivity out of it. It's a slower action than it's advertised. It's not a fast, it's more of a moderate fast or moderate. Great for chatterbaits, crankbaits, treble hook baits. Not the best for Texas rigs or jigs in my opinion. The reel itself, overpriced, pretty good caster, good braking, good drag. The gearing's okay. It'll eventually get geary after maybe half a year of use. And that thumb bar is really just terrible. Like I don't know what to say. That thumb bar is just, it's pretty trash. Like I don't think I've had anywhere close to a thumb bar that's as bad as the thumb bar on like the Lews Mach Crush or the Lews Mach 2. I think it's really just a Mach series problem and maybe a little bit higher into maybe some of the tournament stuff. But yeah, that thumb bar is really just has caused me so many headaches, so many bothersome, just really bad bird's nests. So yeah, that really just covers about everything that I have to say about the Lews Mach Crush. If you guys have any other questions, feel free to drop them in the comments. Or if you guys have, I mean, if you guys don't agree with me, feel free to drop your opinions in the comments. Anything you guys have to ask, have to comment on, drop that in the comments. Make sure you guys subscribe to the channel. New channel, you guys subscribing is really going to help encourage me to make more videos like this. If you want more videos like this, reviews on the water casting, make sure you let me know in the comments down below. If you guys have any video ideas, drop those in the comments, and make sure you smash that like button. That's it for today. Tight lines. Peace out.